Ron Mark. Came down specially from my office just to take a call, and particularly around these SOPs, because of the fact that New Zealand First is hopeful, and as a Wairarapa-based MP, I am very hopeful that this legislation, which New Zealand First is supporting, being led by our MP Tracy Martin, will actually deal to those black spots. But we have had some concern over the years looking at the way in which the rollout of the rural broadband initiatives has been delivered, and as the Mayor of Carterton in my time there, it was somewhat frustrating after all of the good news about the rural broadband rollout, where it was going, to find that in places where you would expect there to be good coverage, astonishingly, there is not. And I'd point to a little place in the Wairarapa called Greytown, a little place where you drive up State Highway 2 through Featherston into Greytown, and the first thing you note when you come into Greytown on the weekend is the number of Wellingtonians there. And you consistently hear in the hotels, the bars and the shops and at the festivals and the fairs how frustrated they get by their inability to use their cell phones to ring back to David Seymour, and or anyone else in Parliament, or anyone else in Wellington, or anyone else in doing business. And I would just hope that through the passing of this particular SOP, yes.
Yeah. It's not at all hard to relate what the member's saying to the SOP, but the member does have to do it to remain relevant.
That's good. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Chairman. And this particular SOP put forward by Gareth Hughes, I take confidence in. Competition in non-urban telecommunications markets, that's us. Diversity in non-urban communities intended to be served by the Levy. We would hope, given the number of small telcos in rural provincial New Zealand, small telcos who have a lot of experience in how to tackle the difficulties of getting good communications through rural New Zealand, we would hope that this SOP would give them the opportunity to be involved, to allow them to compete so they could apply their extensive experience. And I can name probably half a dozen small telcos that are operating in the Wairarapa, but they seem to be shut out. And there seems to be something in the process that forever and for always puts the delivery of the service, the provision of the service and the rollout of the broadband in the hands of a very small block, and we're namely Chorus. And I would hope that this, if nothing else, even if the government doesn't approve this, and I've got a strong sense that they're not going to vote for these SOPs, that they would still get the message, because it is heartland rural New Zealand that actually is suffering right now, and it is very frustrating for them if they go talk to Wiz Wireless. They go to talk to some of the Maori telco providers, Tuaropaki, up in the Central Plateau. Tuaropaki have invested very heavily in communications. In fact, they are a strong shareholder in 2 Degrees. But where did their roots start? Their roots started very small, in small telco, operating out of it. The question is, would their derivatives, would the company that they are now shareholders in, I think they are now working with Think Tank. I think they've got shares, and I'm trying to find the name of that company. They were with Timaru-based Bay City Communications. Would these small telcos get an opportunity to get a shot without this clause? I would hope that we would support this clause. I would hope that this clause would allow greater competition opportunity for the small telcos who are experienced in rural New Zealand and delivering the services out to places like Akatio, out to Flat Point, out to Tora. Those are the areas that are suffering dearly. The notion that we're suffering in Greytown is absolutely astonishing. And I would argue, Mr. Chair, that so far the dependence on the major telcos to deliver the service has done Greytown poorly, very poorly, and that in itself is a very strong argument for the government considering making sure that these other rural telcos who do have the experience, who are out there, who do the work very often for half the price, and are a lot more productive because they are grateful for the business, who do the service very well because they want more business, would get a better shot. And we believe that this SOP would give them that opportunity and give an absolute assurance that they would be invited and asked to give it a shot. Mr. Chair, I'm grateful that our caucus is supporting this SOP, and grateful to Gareth Hughes for putting it forward, because for far too long these small rural telcos have been ignored. For far too long the productivity they offer has been let slide by.